Saima tried her best to make me a celebrity. Which I am not.
Missed that. You missed that.
Which I am not. But just to begin with, of course, I was asking you people a question to begin talking about what I stand here for, literature and language. And I would add a third L to that, love, literature and language. Okay, that being said, let me ask first, and if you don't mind, can we have the lights on, because this show will go on anyhow. And this is just one slide. I'm not going to show you any more slides. Now, because I'm physically here, let me vanish virtually. So, okay. Let me ask, and that's how I actually begin talking to my students as well. So there are teachers here as well, but then most of you are students. So, and I hope that most of you are from Literature and Language Department. Yeah. Okay. And by language I mean English language. Other languages definitely we do master. So, can anybody tell me what is literature? It's a very simple definition that we begin with, and I think anybody who picks on literature as major should be, if not knowing, at least having some familiar orientation to why am I in literature and what is literature actually. So now you don't, Dr. Abdullah, you are not a student, come on. You always go back with your dare, come on. Yeah. Here we have some.
Basically, we talk very simply about what is literature, so we can say that it is the thing which critically appreciates a life, means we just go
Something
on
that critically
analysis
appreciates
of our lives and of our society and social norms that would
Okay.
be defined as literature.
Okay, so almost every. Anybody else? What is your? And do tell your name, please. What was your name?
So my name is Samra Khatun.
Samra said something. Yes.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Sidratul Muntaha.
Sida.
Actually,
Sidra?
Sidratul Muntaha.
Sida. Okay. Great. Medical
Literature is
name.
the reflection of society and life as well.
It's reflection of
Life and society.
life and society. Yes.
Islam.
Anyone else would like to add something? If there is, because we all, yeah.
Sir, common riyas. Common riyas.
Common, what
Sir,
do you
it
say?
reflects traditions, cultures of a society.
It
of
reflects
any nation.
traditions, culture.
Like we have a Islamic literature.
Okay.
As well as
Say it again. What you said last?
Yes, sir.
Repeat your
Sir, I'm
statement.
saying we have Islamic literature.
We
but
have?
we are reading
We
Islamic
have?
Islamic literature.
Islamic literature.
In
But
English.
we are-
It's most welcome. Islamic literature
Yes,
in English.
but
is
we
there.
are reading English literature.
Right. Can you name any Islamic literary book in English that you would like actually to place within
Sir, I have
English literature?
Sir,
Please.
I have read most of the Sirat Nabi, but not in
Okay.
English. No.
All literature is literature actually.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that's true. Do read Arabian Nights, the Arabian Nights.
Inshallah.
Yeah, you should.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else would like to say something? This is interesting actually. From Arab to Europe to Asia to other continents, Australia, you find two things common universally. Language, English.
Yes.
It does float, right? It doesn't stay at one space. It's not a dead language. It's a living language. And then literature, of course. In any form. We come to know about Arabic literature also in English, through English. I'm sorry. We read Quran in Arabic, but we understand it in either Urdu or English, otherwise not. So I think point for us to ponder actually, why English? And of course, I think if you go deep, even in the Holy Quran, that you find narratives, stories. How do you actually sense literature out of it? There is a lot of music in the Quran as well. I mean, we don't openly talk actually. We think, okay, yeah, that's something taboo to talk. But I think whatever background we carry, in terms of whoever we are, wherever we belong to, literature is something that is a means of expression of ourselves. And you have the right to actually pick on any language. But your majburi is that you are part of English language and literature program. So I'm sorry for you. That's the only thing I can do. So before getting into sensing what literature might be or can do to us, or we can do to literature, all the time we keep doing something to literature. But in reciprocity, literature also does something to us. That's for us to actually gauge, sense. But before we get into literature, of course, I think one thing, if we don't know, we got to know first. And I will particularly tell your teachers not to check you on your language, please. Those who are literature students, stop checking your students on language. That's not your problem. That's their problem. I keep telling my students at MPhil level, at higher, your language is not my problem. I just check on your ideas. And if you have language problems, don't join the program, please. Because yesterday I was hearing a lot of idealism in terms of this university is going to do something. This university is going to grow. Like where? I don't know. Welcome. Growth is your basic human right. Maybe species right. Even trees grow. You can't stop them. But you have to water them. You have to give them something to grow. So what is it that you give becomes very important. So the foremost requirement for you people is, if you sense your language is not up to the mark, I don't know how will you manage that. It's your problem. Work in study groups, beg, steal from your maybe friendly teachers, senior teachers, serious teachers, ask them to read something for you so that you know at least one mistake at a time, and then you keep growing on that till in 1 year you are able to get aware about your 365 mistakes. And in 2 years you get how many? Multiply by 2? I'm very bad at mathematics. Okay, in 3 you are here, if you are an undergrad, you are here for 4 years. So 365 into 4, whatever. How? So many mistakes. Celebrate. Enjoy. You are full of mistakes. Well, at least somebody recovered you out of that ailment. And then you get into MPhil program. Here you belong now. And there you, because mistakes will always be there. Even I do. When I write an essay for a journal, I think I'm checked. Like last time I had an experience. This was an Indian author, Rumina Sethi, would collaborate and would ask me actually to write an essay on Raja Rao and Ahmad Ali. They were both friends, pre-partition. So I took a background to E.M. Foster and started writing about their so-called friendship, pre-partition and what happened after the partition. That draft was exchanged between the editor, Rumina Sethi, and myself 22 times. You get tired. Actually, you get angry. But you have to do. So my point is, mistakes we all make. we all get to refinement. We try to do things in a better way. And then there are requirements actually, which come from different way, from different journals, when you are getting into publication, because I treat you as scholars of the future and you definitely should look for publications in the future, even now. So, with those mistakes recovered, you come to MPhil program and you become part of MPhil in English literature, language definitely, you already master all that. And here you are being groomed for another program which is higher than that, which actually maybe, I don't know, 50 years after? 20 years, 2 years, whatever. You got a PhD program at University of Jhang. What would that mean, my dears? That would mean perfect English, that you would be able to actually play with English instead of English playing with you, and that you would master it like the natives would do, and rather tell them there are other ways of speaking English as well, there are other accents as well, there are other ways of living English as well. Amen. You might have an Arabic background. Good. You become a very good translator of Arabic and English. You got a job right away in the embassy, you know. Saudis would hire you. Like we got somebody speaking very good English, so I'm giving you dreams. English can take you anywhere. Don't forget. No biases. Language is not a ghost. It's not going to kill you. Love it. It will love you back. You will be able to express not to a limited audience because it's a living language. It's not a dead one. It's not packed in a trunk at your home or put somewhere like we put the Holy Quran right up somewhere where we never know. And it stays there with its wonderful Arabic always there, protecting us superstitiously. I think English lives differently in this way. I wish Arabic also lives that. The Arabian Nights has been translated into English, that's why it became popular. Not otherwise. It's very limited otherwise. So could be true about Persian literature, Urdu literature, South Asian literature, and many other.
Regional literature.
Yeah, regional. I keep telling it. And yesterday I also said, I am repeating it. Desert has its own flowers. So have plains. So have plateaus. So have other geographical spaces. We need to understand that there are multiple kinds of flowers. If flowers are to do with literature, because Wordsworth did pick on daffodils. If it is to do with birds, Wordsworth did pick on cuckoo, while John Keats picked on nightingale, and we all have these birds around us. If we are having a flight like birds through literary language, then of course we need to take care of ourselves first, becoming a beautiful bird who can fly on the wings of poesy or poetry. That's another title of my essay actually, already published in the writers. That's about Pakistani literature. I think I'm not boasting about myself, I'm not claiming myself, but I think this is time for us to also understand why Pakistani literature is important, which we think or we make it, or actually it is not that important. I am director of that center, which is International Center for Pakistani Writing in English. So there it goes now, we need it, but anyway. Yeah, no, that's cool. So my job there is about creative writing, which I also yesterday found many poets actually. They didn't want to reveal themselves, and I know that there must be like 50 poets among you hiding somewhere, bathroom singers, who will be keeping their poetry secret like a diary. But someday you might like to reveal it to others and recite your poetry. That's another side of literature. Literature is created, and it's a creation. It's an expression. So back to expression, words are the tools, like painters have colors. I think we try to paint through vocabulary items and words. And that is what literature is. Many of you presented wonderful definitions of literature, of course, and I think, yeah, it's everything that you said. Nobody can easily deny it, that it's a reflection. But even before anything else, it has been very archaically and anciently and antiquely been defined as representation of life. That's the simplest definition of it. But the real question starts when we start analyzing this definition. Life, can somebody answer to me, life is what? Is it beautiful? Is it truthful? Is it hideous? Maybe, yeah, of course. I love the hideousness of it. You know, there is beauty in ugliness. So, that's philosophical. So, that life has as many colors as we know. My MPhil thesis was on color vocabulary, use of color vocabulary in the works of Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, Emperor Jones by Eugene O'Neill, and Zindanama by Faisal al-Faiz. Shades I tracked because I read a lot on color vocabulary and color itself. That color is no more limited to the prism. It has come out of those 7 hues that it still holds very dearly. But it is now actually an industry. And I think those who study textile or anything or are artists, because we are all basically artists, we know that we play with colors. As many colors, so many vocabulary items. Word also is an industry, used creatively as well, when we write fiction or poetry or whatever. But that's just one use of how we actually play with literary language. There is another dimension, how we read literature. And that is where we begin actually. What's meant by a reader is something that is debated. Reading was done also by Aristotle for Plato. And we know the whole theory of mimesis that is in the background actually. How we see that reflection, what you just said, that literature is reflection of life. I think the very word reflection or representation or replication or copy or imitation or whatever, all are debatable. So much so that Plato initiated in his times, and the title of his book is Dialogues. As many perspectives, so many dialogical cells. And that's readership. You read the same text. Shakespeare never died, still alive in terms of canonized, the way it is canonized for universities. We cannot dream of a program in English literature and language and not think of Shakespeare, or not think of Walt Whitman, or not think of Charles Dickens or Virginia Woolf or all the great writers who actually wrote in English. But now also Mohsin Hamid, now also Maniza Shamsi, Kamala Shamsi, she is mother of
Babsi Sidva.
Babsi Sidva, name so many, yes. Do read, but don't get fulfilled, please. These are shades of literature and literary expressions. When people come to me, my students would say, what are you researching on? Babsi Sidva. Which one? Tracking India. I think that's too much cracked already.
We need new ideas.
No, it's not the point. The point is when you ask them, and that's just a dilemma and a tragedy, I'm sorry. What is your reading? People come with just one book that because the other day there was a student of mine and I would ask, why are you doing on this? My friend suggested to me. What is your reading, by the way? I think who is a voracious reader, how much literature you read to understand literature is perhaps after language the foremost question for you to resolve. If you want to say, work on Pepsi Silva, how many works of Silva? You should study all the works, all her prose, because she has also written about the city of lights, Lahore. She has written so much. She has interviewed so many. That's the primary text reading. You got to read the contemporaries as well. You got to understand the history of Pakistani literature as well. The critical history as well of South Asian literature. Why somebody is writing the way she is writing, he is writing. So my point in saying all that is that after language, how literature becomes your responsibility. And that's I'm talking about because there are dreams, of course, and very rightfully, that you are going to have an MPhil and then a PhD program. What sort of actually expertise you would be developing in this university? I'm very happy, I much know only Dr. Abdullah, that he struggled a lot at Namal University. And yesterday there was some debate about foreign degrees and local degrees. I think when it comes to exceptions, Dr. Abdullah is one whose work I know, and I appreciate that he is one who actually challenged working here in Pakistan and trying to actually challenge what is being produced abroad. There are other names like Dr. Fatma Sardar, and there are many others who have done degrees here. But my point in saying all that is, if you don't own the quality, please stop doing what you are doing. You are cheating yourself. Literature is a vast field. It is historical. It has been there ever since. It began with the story of Genesis, even before we were born. The humans, even they were born. The story was already there. It talks about the cosmos, the cosmic music. It talks about so much pre-birth, prenatal. There is psychology, there is philosophy, there is sociology, there is biology, there is botany, chemistry. There is chemistry of love as well. There are so many kinds of love. There are logical loves, there are romantic loves.
Metaphysical.
Yeah, metaphysical love, physical love. Yeah. So many kinds of loves. How many would you deny or ignore? Love is full of world in itself. So, I think the canvas is vast, the colors are free floating, generating one out of the other every time. It's like never going to be extinct. Species might be, we humans can be extinct, but I think this float of life would not. And when literature talks of life, it's not just our 60 years life that we are capturing. We are talking bigger, beyond life. And that is what really the depth of literature brings to you. It makes you travel through your imagination to the worlds that you could never actually go to. But the good thing is that you can go there without visa. You can create your own world of imagination. You can have your own domain, but it should be a powerful domain. So this could be still based on sheer idealism, but I think literature to me is something that is out of me. I still try to access it, catch it somewhere, yet not being able to. And if that is the passion that continues with you, I think literature always welcomes you. It actually entices you. it allures you, it deceives you, it just hides itself somewhere. It calls you, you run after it, and it's not there. And that's the beauty of it. And with all that, I think just to have some tips, I think never to get discouraged. I wish all of you get an exposure of literature and literary world anywhere in the universe. Because we are not going to confine to this planet now. I think Shakespeare also reserved a seat somewhere in the Mars and in the moon. Tomorrow when the populations are there, they might carry Shakespeare there. So literature is that vast and beyond. So wherever you are in the future, I think love for literature and of course love for language before that doesn't stop. It just takes you along. It's an art. It's part of humanities. My final point, what does it do to us? We do a lot actually. We do a lot of mischief with literature. We kill it many times. Every time we compose a poem and we try to read to others, the other person runs away and just calls, was that a poem? So I think we need to do justice to what we are doing. One thing, very important, like you are wonderful people, so beautiful, and so beautifully sitting here listening to me while I'm talking nonsense.
No.
That, I mean, how actually we listen to, because these are skills of course, before you learn language the way it is, and you before you start writing, you got to actually know how to read, which I already told you. How actually to listen to a good poem and recite a good poem. How actually speak it out. The way with punctuation. If you are studying literature, you got to know how to read a piece of literature. How to do justice, how to do Shakespearean drama. Doing all that actually brings one thing to you, and that's refinement, which is the prerogative of art. Science has its own niches, has its own skills and strategies to refine us to be better human beings. But art, humanities, is something that brings us closer to the citizenry, the global citizenship that we are looking for. How to be more tolerant, how actually to be sensitive to other people, how to actually know the inside feelings which nobody is able to express. I was just crossing Jhang Bazaar today and I was looking at people working so hard. Everybody was in their shop and looking at me like I am a colonialist in that big van of the University of Jhang. But then this boy at one shop asked me, are you a teacher? He was selling something, but he asked me, like Khadar shop. So he would ask me, are you a teacher? And I said, you just guessed because I was in that van, otherwise you would not have guessed. But I could see one thing in him, he wanted to study.
Did he give you discount?
No, he whether he did or not, that's not like, yeah, he did actually. But then the point is, I could see something inside him
So welcoming.
that he lost an opportunity of studying in a university.
There are so many people like that.
The world is full of. What is it that you do as teachers, as students? There was this wonderful person at Circuit House, has done MA in Urdu and working like a peon. That's what life is full of. I asked him actually to very concealingly, not naming anybody, write a short story book, Circuit House. And he said, yes, sir. Because there are so many happenings that I noticed just in my overnight stay.
वैसे हमने कल कहा हर एक के पास एक स्टोरी है बताने की।
Yes,
रोमांटिक स्टोरी
everybody has a story. People have their stories. Literature actually brings those stories forth. Jhang has its stories. There were insects in the room. They have a story too. Who is going to represent them? Who is going to tell their tale? ये झांग के कीड़े हैं, कहीं बाहर के नहीं, फॉरेनर्स नहीं है, colonialists नहीं आए हुए. How do you tell their tale? So I think we got very interesting things in the vicinity that we live. Let's not lose love for the land, love for language, love for literature. The more you learn languages, write in French, write in Arabic, write in Persian. I sometimes miss Persian a lot. Fez is my idea in terms of even building on empire and coming up with like our local idiom, Persian Urdu. I mean, let's love it. Let's not hate it. But I think they still need it, and so was done to them. They were translated into English and Russian. How do we grow global? So I think with all that, global citizenship, that's the future, of course. We are all interactive. We are got to be tolerant. We need to learn how to be good human beings. Literature can teach us that. I will not say anything about critical theory because I am waiting for questions from, and I think Simon is there. So
I do have a question.
yeah, okay. So I open the house. Okay. That was all that I had to say. Was it a good story?
Yes.
Clap then.
But I think
So I do
The
have a
house is
question
open.
about Pakistani literature and Pakistani writers, like Waseem Anwar, Hina Shah, Pepsi Sikra. Although Pepsi Sikra is a bit, she justifies so many
Why don't you
things.
stand and just talk loud so that even the last person knows?
My
what
question
it
is about the Pakistani writers.
Or you can use the mic.
That is fine. My question is about, it always comes in my mind whenever I read Pakistani fiction, that why do Pakistani writers always show the filth of Pakistan?
Always show that.
Filth of Pakistan while residing in Pakistan, and they are getting so many awards, so many credits while living over there, not here in Pakistan.
You have asked me actually to say a thing that I keep thinking about, and I keep inviting these great writers. They are great writers of course. They are at least picking on something that we never pick. There is a lot of filth here, I'm sorry. You know. So, it's okay. Filth is also part of life, and that needs to be represented. But yeah, how actually a representation in true sense comes forth. So that means the room is open. More people can write. More people can actually present your country, your land, your love, the way you actually perceive it and you want to portray it. But to answer your question, I'm sorry, I sometimes sense, I may be wrong, and maybe writers are great, they loiter a lot, some people are living in London, UK, US, seeing Pakistan from there, which is good. Diaspora writing is very important. And reimagining your homeland is also very important. We all got the right to do, even while we are living here. We live here, but we are in exile. We keep thinking we are not being owned, many of us. So, I think